In this Titan Quest 2 video, we're going to be talking about Early Access, which was just released for Titan Quest 2 and was ninja dropped by THQ today at their presentation. So if you didn't hear, you can officially go by and play Titan Quest 2 early as of right now. I have been playing it for the last few days, and I'm going to talk about my impressions, what I like about it in this video. But before I get into my impressions, I just want to talk a little bit more about the Early Access and what you can expect from it. So first of all, and most importantly, the game has a 20% launch discount until August 8th. So if you want to save 20% on the game and get it, you should definitely do that in the next week or so. There is about 20 hours or so playtime. I didn't do everything, and I've got several characters, and I'm playing the different masteries. So you'll get far more than 20 hours out of game time out of this early access if you like to make multiple characters and try out different masteries, which of course is the highlight of Titan Quest in general. So I think you're going to get far more than that for what you're paying. So if you just want to save a little bit of money and do that now, that's not a bad idea. It does appear that there are only 4 masteries currently in early access. These are Rogue, Warfare, Storm, and Earth masteries. These were all present in the previous game, but they seem to be a little bit different this time around. Warfare seems to be a combination of hunting and warfare from the previous game, as it also allows you to have ranged attacks and boost ranged attacks in some capacity. And Rogue seems much more generalized than it did in the first game. It seems to just boost damage in general and increase critical chance across the board. And in fact, when you look at all of the masteries as a whole, I don't know if it's just because currently we only have 4 masteries, but they are much more generalized across the board. Like, you can do any sort of build basically with them, which I don't think is what most people that are coming from Titan Quest is going to be expecting. You're going to be expecting certain combinations of masteries to be more or less effective, and that is true to a certain degree in this game so far. But I would say there's almost no wrong way to make a character currently, which was just not true in the previous game. Now, we do know that they're going to be adding more masteries as early access progresses. The game is supposed to launch at the end of next year, and they're going to have basically a big update for this game every 3 months, and they specifically mentioned that they're going to be adding more masteries to the game during these updates, along with other content and things like that. Currently, you can play through about, I would call it Act 1 of the game. That's what it feels like to me, which is a big portion of the game, and it seems to be more or less the same size as Act 1 was in Titan Quest 1, which is quite lengthy in my opinion. So I do expect more acts to make it into early access as we progress further and further and more masteries. But what I'm really curious about is to see if that generalization that all of these masteries currently have, because there are only 4, becomes less as we have more masteries and they become specialized, or if that remains. Because right now, it just feels like they are too generalized, in my opinion, and it doesn't feel like there's a great way to make a build. There's just a bunch of different good ways, and I would really like to see some over-the-top builds. It's a bit early yet, so we'll see how it pans out, but I'm hoping you can make some more specialized builds in the future by having some more specialized passives and active skills. One of the big standouts of Titan Quest 2 is the modifiers that they've implemented into this game that were not present in the previous game, where you can take a skill, and the further you level it up, the more capacity you gain, and then you can add more modifiers to it to change the properties of that skill. And you can change the damage type of the skill, you can add projectiles, you can change the speed of it, you can add damage over time effects and things like this. There's a lot of different things you can do with these passives that really makes you stop and think and try out different things, which I really love. I don't know if they've gone far enough with these modifiers, in my opinion, so far from what I've seen. It definitely varies a bit from skill to skill. Some skills you can modify a lot and they do drastically different things, and other ones you can only kind of change, like the damage type or frequency in which the status effect will trigger, or maybe change, how quickly it casts. But you can't really change like the properties and make it like a big AoE or a line AoE. And some of skills you can, other ones you can't. And I think after playing Path of Exile 2, which gives you a lot of freedom to really manipulate skills the way that you want, I think it's lacking a little bit here, but it's still very early in early access. So I'm hoping they have time to refine this as it moves on, because I really love the modifier system, something you will tinker around with a lot. And even it allows you to make builds with certain skills in different ways. So you could even have like a character that's making like a warfare type character that's using the same skill as another, but they use it in a much different manner, which I really like. There are also unique weapons and jewelry in the game. They make a return from the first game, and I've only found a few of the weapons so far. I haven't found a lot of the jewelry. And if you have played the first game at all, you know that these are not frequent drops. You can get spurts where they drop regularly and then not see one again for like 8 to 10 hours of gameplay. So it varies how much you're going to see these when you're playing. And I was farming a boss and got a couple of these, which was pretty cool. And I will say that what we have in early access so far is probably only like 20 or 30 uniques, which is not that many. And I'm really hoping to see more added with the full version of the game, including armor and sets, because I haven't seen any unique armors or any unique sets in the tutorial screen where it kind of shows you what the uniques are, or at least gives you an idea how many of each one there are. So I think if Titan Quest II is going to be successful, they're really going to have to crank up their volume of uniques and sets and bring those back, because Titan Quest I had far more than what we have here already. And even though this is just a small sliver, I think they would have to maybe 10x this to be even close to what Titan Quest I had, which is a lot more than we currently have. A couple other things I noticed is that different armor types in the game seem to have different passive bonuses, and different weapon types have different passive bonuses. Like if you get a specific type of bow, and it's always that type of bow that you're picking up, which obviously it won't, you'll get different types, but that specific type of bow will always have X passive effect. Like maybe it increases your ailment chance or your crit chance, projectile speed, or homing or something if you're using that bow. And certain types of armors will also have certain types of passive effects, whether it's increasing the chance of blows to glance off you doing reduced damage, or maybe it reduces your dodge cooldown so you can dodge more frequently, or maybe it gives you energy barrier so you take less damage. These things are all present on certain specific pieces of equipment, so you can find the best one for your build, not unlike Diablo 4 or something like that. Also, something that I noted that I was a little bit disappointed in is that there's no block mechanic in the game. Titan Quest I had a very advanced block mechanic in which you used a shield and had a block chance in order to block attacks and reduce damage dealt to you. And it wasn't used by a ton of builds, but it was used in a lot of defense mastery builds. They have shields in this game, but shields simply just give you energy barrier now, and there doesn't seem to be a block stat or block attribute or whatever you want to call it, which I'm kind of disappointed in. I thought there should be a block mechanic in this game, and I'm hoping that maybe as they go further into early access development, one will be added at a later date. There also doesn't seem to be any enchanting in the game like the first game. I really liked the enchanting system from Titan Quest I, allowing you to take relics and slot them onto rare weapons or monster infrequents in order to make some amazing weapon that was really, really deadly, or a piece of armor that was really, really good, was one of the best parts of that game. I haven't seen anything like this so far in the early access. There is a crafting tab that makes me think that this is something that's going to be implemented further. I don't know if it's going to be the same enchanting system or a similar enchanting system that we had in the first game, but I haven't seen anything about it so far. I haven't done 100% of the early access. I have made it all the way through Act 1, but I did miss exploring some areas, so it's possible that I missed something here. But there's going to be some sort of crafting system in this game. I just don't know exactly how it's going to be, and if it's going to be enchanting or if that's going to exist, or maybe you're just going to be able to craft weapons and armor instead. The art style of the game and the graphics of the game are really, really good. I really love the way the game looks. It's vibrant, it's fun, it's beautiful. Reminds me a lot of the first game. The vibe of the game while you're playing feels a lot like Titan Quest I, which for Titan Quest fans should feel right at home. If you're expecting them to reinvent the wheel in terms of ARPGs, you might be a bit disappointed, because it feels so much like the original that it doesn't have like a lot of new shiny bells and whistles or things that you might expect in a modern ARPG. It feels very, very classic, which I will admit I both like and don't like at the same time. I feel like maybe it's a little bit too classic so far from what I've seen in terms of its mechanics. It's very simplified without these enchanting systems, without a block mechanic and things like that. But again, it's early in early access, and I think that it's likely we'll see some of these things added at a later point in time. And another thing I really want to draw attention to is the storytelling in this game is absolutely fantastic. ARPGs are not traditionally a game where you play for the story. The voice acting, the music, the setting, all so far are top-notch. They're probably some of the best, if not the best, in the industry in this genre. So if you want to play this game, but you also want to have a good story, like, you're definitely going to have one here. And I actually listened to the dialogue of characters, listened to what they had to say, because it was interesting, it was intriguing, and you kind of learn a little bit about mythology at the same time, which I really appreciated. The last thing, though, that I want to mention about Titan Quest Early Access is that performance continues to be a problem with this game. It was a problem in the demo version of the game. It was a problem in the preview I played before that. The performance of this game is just not where it needs to be. If you remember, the first game, as I mentioned, also had insane system requirements for the time, and even on low graphics settings still looked good, and I had to set mine down on my gaming laptop, admittedly, to medium. But even on our desktop, Fex told me that she was having performance issues while she was playing. So you're definitely going to have a difficult time unless you have a really beefy computer playing this at, anything higher than like low or medium graphics on like 1440p. It's just really beefy for some reason, and it shouldn't be. The game, even though it looks good and it has great visual style, I don't think it should have the performance problems that it has. So hopefully they can address these. This is a game that is going to be on Xbox, and it's going to be on PlayStation 5 as well at the full release next year. So they're really going to have to, get on with this and fix this up a bit in order to make that actually playable for those consoles, because I just don't think that's where it needs to be at the moment. So that kind of wraps up my information on Titan Quest 2. I really have enjoyed it so far, but it's just the foundation of a game. Path of Exile 2, when it went into early access, had way more to it than what Titan Quest 2 currently does in its early access state. So if you want to wait and pick it up in a couple of months when they've done a content update, or maybe a few months after that where they've done a couple of content updates, I wouldn't blame you. The original game had 8 masteries at launch. We only have 4. So they have a ways to go to get even to that, and hopefully they'll have even more masteries because the expansions added more and things like that. But remember that there is a sale right now for 20% off through August 8th. So if you want to pick it up now and, play a little bit and then put it down and pick it up again when there's another content update, you can absolutely do that. Save yourself some money. If you know you're going to be picking this up anyway, that's maybe not a bad idea in that case. But I want to know from you guys out there, for those of you that have seen the gameplay or heard what I have to say about it, what do you make of it? Have you gone and played it? Did you pick it up? What are your thoughts on Titan Quest 2 so far? Did you love the original as much as I did? Let me know in the comments below.